Yes, we thought the Florida Gators were a shoo-in to beat LSU, but the 23-point favorite blew it 37-34 and most likely derailed their college football playoff chances. And yes, the bad puns and jokes are aplenty, so I will stop right there and we'll get right to it. LSU upsets Florida in the swamp 37-34. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Before you do anything else, please like the video. If you support what we do, even if you don't agree with my analysis and everything that we have to say here, of course, that's why we're here. Discussion, debate, analysis. We do it better than anyone else. And that's our aim. That's our goal. That's our mission every day. We don't necessarily hit the mark, but that's the goal. That's the mission. That's the objective. All right. Also, subscribe. If you are coming across our channel for the first time, dive into the videos, then we hope that you will find a home right here. Subscribe. Hit the bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. And we want your comments below on Florida, LSU, the SEC championship game, the college football playoff. All right. LSU wins 37-34 in a 23-point upset. Full disclaimer here. I pick Florida to win. I pick Florida to cover. I'm not surprised at the outcome, though. I stated that many times throughout the week. Personnel losses aside, and LSU was missing three huge playmakers on offense, missing three of its cornerbacks, including the guy considered to be the best in the nation, Derek Stingley. So those are huge, huge, enormous personnel losses. On Florida's side, of course, Kyle Pitts. Could he have played? Kyle Pitts missing in this game. That might have been the difference. Looks like it was the difference. Maybe a bad move by Dan Mullen. But on the surface, in regards to recruiting rankings and the roster brought to the table in Game 1 of 2020 and throughout the season, Florida LSU, maybe LSU's got a more talented roster overall. They've recruited better. LSU is a top 5 roster, and Florida's been recruiting in the 8 to 10 range. So if you believe in recruiting rankings, you shouldn't be surprised by this. Yes, I picked Florida to win and cover. The other component in this that can't be accounted for is LSU fight. So when teams are in this situation, especially teams and programs that expect to compete for championships and then they lose 5 games, they can either throw in the towel, and maybe this changes week to week. Maybe in a particular week they do throw in the towel because they get down early and they just don't have it. And then the next week, they're 18 to 22-year-olds. They can be resilient. They can be fickle. But LSU had the talent to win the game, so I stated that a number of times throughout the week. It would not surprise me in the least if LSU won this football game, and that's what happened. They played loose. They played carefree. They came with a fight. They said, we're here. We might as well play. We might as well fight. They prepared. They game planned, and, of course, Florida's defense let them down. So let's go through the incidents here. So from a talent perspective, doesn't surprise me. SEC talent, top-notch talent on both sides, and LSU made the plays. Okay, let's get to the play that mattered, the one that's being talked about, the one that was referenced off the top of this little video right here. Marco Wilson. Okay, I tend to take a different perspective in analyzing the play and the actions of these athletes versus what I would do if we had an NFL channel. They're not professionals. Regardless of whether they're paid under the table at times, they are not professionals. So I will not be as harsh as I would be otherwise. But it was a stupid play. It was an idiotic play. Even if that play was made the first series of the game and it didn't matter and it was just a 15-yard penalty, if I were a head coach, I would not put up with that from my football team, from my football players. We would conduct ourselves with class, and if we didn't, then we would pay a harsh penalty for that. I would probably suspend him for a half of football. I would take him out of the game, say, sit down for a half, think about what you're doing. You're a moron. You made a moronic play. Let me correct that. He may not be a moron, but he made a moronic play, a stupid play, idiotic, classless play, and I would teach him better for that, regardless of when it happened. So the ramifications of it are one thing in terms of how much it cost the team versus it just being a classless, stupid, idiotic, immature thing to do. And hopefully he'll learn from that and move on in life. It's not the end of the world. But it might be the end of Florida's season. So it was huge. And so the ramifications. And so then the next teaching moment is that doing something stupid and then doing something stupid when it really matters from a football perspective and how much you let down your team, how much you cost your team. Okay, so Marco Wilson's made a stupid play, just did something for whatever reason just to be a clown. It's a clown. That is just the definition of clown act, clownish moment right there. Marco Wilson. That's the end of it right there. Most likely cost the game. They're up by 3. They get the football back. They should be in good shape to close it out. There was a kicking moment on both sides. Cade York came through with a 57-yarder, longest of his career, longest in LSU history. Evan McPherson is a tremendous kicker for Florida. Couldn't make it through the fog. Hooked it just slightly. Missed the 51-yarder. Makes 79% of his kicks. Missed this one, a big one for the Gators. Field goal kickers are going to miss kicks. All right, let's get to Dan Mullen. Okay. I love the thoughts in the comments about Dan Mullen. And he probably makes it worse on himself because he's a little quirky, a little weird, says stupid things, says some outlandish things. But if you've got him on your side, if you're a Gator fan, you most likely like Dan Mullen. He's done a great job with this Florida football program. Will he win SEC championships and national championships? I don't know. I believe if he stays there long enough, I can see him winning at least SEC championships. And then you get to the playoff and you see what happens. But if you're coming to the playoff from the SEC, you've got a great shot of winning national championships. So he is recruited at a place where you should be expected to win and compete for SEC and national championships. This is only year 3. So I'm hearing tons of criticism on Dan Mullen. And yes, do I necessarily want Dan Mullen coaching my football program? I don't think so. He just doesn't represent himself all the time in a way that I would want him to coach my football program. But in regards to results, let's clear something up. Okay. There's criticisms levied by a caller last night and other callers that I've taken in the past that Dan Mullen's never won a conference championship and he's coached forever in the SEC. All right. There's a difference between coaching at Alabama, Florida, Georgia, LSU, and then coaching at, let's say, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and then coaching down at Vanderbilt. There are all sorts of differences in levels of opportunity, in resources, facilities, recruiting footprint, all of that taken into consideration. You cannot win a conference championship at Mississippi State for a number of reasons. And this video is not about Mississippi State, so I will not go through them. Mississippi State has not won an SEC championship since 1941. That was forever ago. Almost 80 years, going on 80 years, Mississippi State has not won an SEC football championship from anybody, so nobody's been able to do it. Jackie Sherrill competed for national championships at Pitt and Texas A&M, won conference championships elsewhere. He could not win one in forever at Mississippi State. He was there from 1992 through 2001. He was there for 10 years, 11 years. Jackie Sherrill could not win SEC championships at Mississippi State. Well, it's often thrown at me when defending Dan Mullen, which I don't like to be in that position because I've got no investment there. He does some stupid things, quirky things, and I'm not touting Dan Mullen as Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Dabo Swinney, Pete Carroll. No, he's not that guy. Not proven to be that guy yet. He is on that next tier. He's James Franklin. And if that needs to be clarified, circa 2019 and before, if you're too hyper-focused on Penn State being 3-5 right now. He's in that tier of coach. He's made those types of achievements, accomplishments, successes in his coaching career. He's now won a division championship in the SEC. Okay. Mississippi State, 1941. Nobody's winning SEC championships at Mississippi State. Yes, so people bring up that Mississippi State won a division championship in 1998, and that's all they know. They don't know anything more than that. And if you follow me and follow this channel, and you know that I'm going to challenge idiotic, moronic analysis and debates, you know I'm going to challenge you, and that's why you guys are here, because you want the truth. And my perspective's good. It's not necessarily perfect. So we all chime in with our perspective, and we find out some logical perspective on this. So Mississippi State in 1998, I should know as well as anyone. I was there at every game. I was covering the SEC. I know I'm still covering the SEC, but I mean in person, in the press box, on the sideline, at all the news conferences, at the practices. I was there. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Alabama, Auburn, going to games all over the place, all the time. There every day covering the teams. Okay, so I went to just about every Mississippi State game in 1998 when they won the division. That was not a division championship team in the manner of an SEC team winning a division in 2020. Completely different. Alabama was coming off probation. LSU was basically Kansas State. They were going 4 and 5 wins a year, 6 wins, sometimes 7 and 4. Those were the records. There was no Texas A&M at that point. Auburn was back and forth. Yes, Mississippi State had a good team. They had a decent team. They had a team that went 8 and 5. They lost 5 games. They lost 5 games and won the division. They lost the SEC championship game, put up a good fight, but lost to Tennessee. They went on to the Cotton Bowl and lost to a Texas team that wasn't even that highly ranked at the time, top 15. They lost to Texas by 4 scores in the Cotton Bowl. So that Mississippi State team that won that division was not that good. This was not like winning the SEC West in 2020 or what we've seen over the past 20 years. So let's put that to bed. All right. Let's get back to Florida football right now under Dan Mullen. Again, there's good and there's bad, and he's on a tier in which he's one of the 10 best coaches in college football, roughly in that realm. He's not a legend. He's not building a great program at this point. He's coming close. He's doing good things. He's done just about everything he's done at this point has been positive. He's raised the level of recruiting. He's developed a quarterback. That quarterback in Kyle Trask is not, when it comes to physical tools, a great quarterback. Dan Mullen did not inherit Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. He inherited Kyle Trask, and Kyle Trask has worked his butt off to become a great, underline it, great college football player, great quarterback at this level. We'll see if he continues that in the NFL, but he's not a dynamic, unbelievable talent, and Dan Mullen has molded him, developed him, done what he's done with quarterbacks his entire career. So he's got the centerpiece, and he is largely to given credit and should be for developing Kyle Trask. Okay, he's built a great offense. He's a great innovator of offensive play. The defense is a mess. So let's be balanced here in the analysis on the defensive side. Todd Grantham's not done a good job. They've not figured it out. They have come through stretches of the season, late in the season, in which they've improved on defense, but I think that's been more about the opponent playing the likes of South Carolina. Well, that was early in the season. Missouri recently, and some other teams like Vanderbilt, Missouri, that obviously are helping that defensive performance. So the defense is not good. It's not fixed. But let's also understand that our standard of evaluating defenses should be different in 2020 than it was in 2015. Look across the country. Almost every defense is giving up yardage and points. It's about creating turnovers. It's about red zone defense. You're going to give up yards and some points. This is not Alabama circa 2011, in which you're just going to shut teams down. Nobody's doing that. We thought Georgia had a great defense at the beginning of the year, and they do have a very talented defense. Then they lost some players. We've looked at Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama as great defenses at different times. Yes, relative to 2020, there are some quote-unquote great defenses, but the metrics aren't going to be the same as they were 5 years ago. You're not going to give up 12 points a game and 250 yards of total offense per game like Alabama did 5 and 10 years ago. It's not going to happen by anyone. There's too much speed, and everyone has adopted the same offense, basically. There are variations of it, but basically everybody's doing the same thing, and the players on the offensive side are too skilled in throwing and catching to just shut teams down week after week after week after week. You're going to do it on occasion. That said, the Florida defense is not good. They didn't fix it this year. And do they have a chance in the SEC championship game? Well, it appears as though they don't, because Alabama is just rolling. Alabama's the exception. Alabama's the best team in the country. They've put it all together. They are capable of being beaten, but I think those two teams are Clemson and Ohio State. Now, if Florida wins this week against Saturday, people will ask me if I'm surprised, and I'll say, not really, But I think Alabama's probably a 2 to 3 score better team right now, and especially if Florida plays like they did Saturday night, this past Saturday at the Swamp, they'll get blown out by Alabama because they just won't be able to keep up. After the game, Dan Mullen made a crack probably at Ohio State, and I think he's got every right to. He can say whatever he wants, just like other people can. And he just took a slight dig at playing games. And, of course, if you play games, you're going to lose games. And he was asked about the playoff, and I expect him to stand up for his team. And I understand for any coach or team out there that has played 10 or 11 football games and looking at other teams that have played 5 and 6 games, I understand that because they have less opportunity to lose games. But we knew we were getting into this situation. So we either wanted, once it got to this point, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten to play, or we didn't want them to play, and we wanted 3 conferences to compete for a national championship. We couldn't have both. At that point in the season in which it was decided that the Big Ten and then the Pac-12 would get back into the mix, we couldn't have both. We couldn't cram 11 games into a season. So you can't have both. All right, my thoughts on LSU and Florida. Would love to hear from you down below in the comments section. Please lock it in here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.